Hello and welcome to the Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Crighton, and you are most welcome to our behind-the-scenes look at the Oxford Mystery Cycle, which was performed at St Edmund Hall on the 26th of April, 2025. We've had a long chat with one of the organisers, Henrika, in an earlier discussing episode, if you'd like a bit of background to the show, and there are video recordings of the day on the Oxford website. We were invited to the event to record the backstage atmosphere and talk to the audience, and so that's what this episode will be doing. It's a flowing series of conversations with the distant sound of performance occasionally punching in. The day started with myself and Liza joining the team for brunch and generally wandering around the site to catch moments of preparation.
I am acting in this year's medieval mystery play. It's playing Isaac in Abraham and Isaac. Very exciting.
I'm playing the angel in Abraham and Isaac. Yes, I've come bearing good news and also bad news and also good news again.
Yes, there's a certain amount of flip-flopping of messaging going on from the Holy Kingdom.
The mood whiplash is quite intense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So which text are you doing?
Will you remind me?
The York version, I believe, because it's got sort of Isaac is portrayed as slightly older in that version, and so it's quite sad. And if there's more Jesus parallels, teleology and all that, they did like that sort of thing.
Miriam was interested in Isaac having that level of autonomy. I'm playing him a very spry 30, but still retaining that innocence while also the ability to undertake being sacrificed of your own volition.
Yes.
I think was something we were really interested in.
Yes, because the relationship between the Old and the New Testament for these kind of cycles is always trying to make that parallel with the later bit with Jesus.
Yes, absolutely. A little bit of foreshadowing. Yeah. If you like this, you'll love this guy. He's going to show up in a little while.
Stay tuned, guys. But I also think it's really interesting how they really engage with the physicality of being put on the altar and sacrifice. There's a lot of tying up, blindfolding. I'm gonna fight back, so you have to tie me down, okay? It's quite intensely physical, and I think that's really interesting.
I'm directing Abraham and Isaac, so I am the one who decided on what text we would choose. But this was my preference, basically, to do the version where Isaac was older and is 30 years of age, because I think that it has, I'm sure they've said this already, but the kind of Christological interpretation where he's much closer to Christ in the New Testament is really interesting, and that kind of choice to build these stories together. And it makes a lot of sense then, if you would see these performed over the course of a whole day, you would experience that kind of repetition, or almost deja vu, I guess. There's a kind of Groundhog Day feeling to it, but it would very much cement the experience, I think, for people back then, and hopefully now.
Currently outside the church, where various groups are rehearsing. I'm not going to interfere with them. Just get a bit of background.
Hello, I'm still here with Hannah of the Abraham and Isaac plays, and a crocheted, or a sheep that is homemade, and I wish to know the story of this sheep.
Okay, so this is crocheted, as you accurately surmised. So back when we were first starting the play, I noticed we had a sheep for a prop, and I was like, I could probably crochet one of those, kind of just as a joke, because who's going to crochet a fairly life-sized sheep from scratch for a 20-minute play, but Miriam was like, no, do it, it'll be fun. And I was like, are you sure? It wouldn't be very realistic. And she was like, no, it's fine, it fits the vibe. And I think the body took me about 6 hours, and then another 2 hours for the head and sewn together. She currently doesn't have a tail, ears, or legs right now. Kind of ran out of time for that, but it's sufficiently sheep-like.
I thought sheep immediately.
That's good.
So may I hold her?
Of course.
Oh, she's actually, she has substance, but she's quite light. It makes me think about holding a human infant.
Yes, she is very baby-sized, isn't she?
Because you found a very soft yarn for her.
Yes.
Well, this is a very good sheep, and I know so in the play, no spoilers, but maybe some bad things happen to the sheep.
Potentially,
but the sheep is, of course, a very trained actor, so
yes,
I hope
she will escape intact. Don't you worry.
So I'm Lucy, and I'm playing as Jesus in the Lamentation.
I'm Monty. I'm playing as Mary in the Bordesholmer Lamentation, and also as Lucifer in an Adam and Eve play earlier on.
Ooh, and?
I'm Laurentine. I'm going to be playing Satan in the same Adam and Eve play.
I attended, I think, the second cycle, so 2-3 years ago. Yes, this is something that actually we were working on roughly at the same time, performing a little bit elsewhere, and so we're able to perform it here.
And how did you get involved?
I got involved by the virtue of being German and being asked to be in a German mystery play, which I guess the niche is quite narrow here in Oxford. We are doing Hans Sachs' The Fall of Adam and Eve.
Yes, there is an eclectic mix of texts being used here, so it is a wide and varied. You're in a couple, did you say?
Yeah, so both the Adam and Eve play by Hans Sachs, and then from about 50 years earlier, the Borders von Marienklage, which is from a Marian lament from the 1476, which I'm writing on this term actually, so it's been quite interesting to do this at even though what we're going to be doing today bears absolutely no relation between the sort of academic study of this text. It's still very interesting, so it's exciting to be able to do it today.
And you're generally not very well in the text you're doing.
Well, I mean, you could put it like that. I mean, listen, I get to linger on for a little bit longer, but I do get to set Adam and Eve free, so, wins and losses.
I am very excited that you are going to die on the cross,
Yes,
and then
yes.
move down and join the choir who are going to go and harrow hell. So
Yes.
that will look very nice.
Weise, auf dass Gott frei Lob zum Preise.
Yes, so you're preparing for letting the audience in a bit, I assume. How many people do you think are going to be here?
Well, it's hard to say. In previous years there were something like 300, so that's what we've kind of prepared for. But it might be more, might be less.
It's an important point in the calendar, so there'll be a good turnout either way, I'm sure.
Yes.
And it's a nice day.
We've avoided the rain.
Day,
Which
yeah.
is
Yes.
It's not too hot, it's not too cold.
Hello there.
Hello.
Can you tell me your name, please?
Yes, my name is Andy Lewin.
Please tell me what play you're involved with.
It's the Noah's Flood one, yeah. I'm not involved in it directly, my wife is organising it.
So at this moment, the lawn of St Edmund Hall College is, which you're normally not allowed to walk on, but today it is a theatre space. It's full of children holding beautifully painted and decorated cardboard cutouts of animals.
They're all been painted by the children. They've been helped in the design and creation of those animals by students of Ruskin College and students of the art department of Oxford University, and a fellow of Christchurch who helped very much with the provision of the studio and the paint and all of the guidance in the making of the art. The children themselves are kids from schools all over Oxford who attend St Giles Church Choir. So St Giles Church, the north of St Giles in Oxford, has a large choral tradition, and they have boys' choir and a girls' choir and a mixed choir. And so all these kids are from the choir. They'll be singing. The students in here are students of St Anne's and St Anne's College, and it's being led by Sian Gronley, who's a medievalist and Fellow of English at St Anne's.
The audience is now arriving for the shows. They're starting to come in. Some of the cast are standing by. You nervous?
I'm very nervous.
Excellent.
Everybody just come through. If you could at some
Everyone's
point
gathering ready for the first performance, which will be happening anytime soon. The day was split into 3 blocks. First performances were The Fall of the Angels, Adam and Eve, The Flood, and Abraham and Isaac, all performed in the quad. Were you receiving the shows that you just heard?
Obviously, I couldn't understand the medieval German, but it was really fun actually. I thought that they were really charming, very entertaining, and I could kind of see why people enjoyed them in the past, like as a form of entertainment. I think that's really fun. Really enjoyed the serpent. That was one evil serpent, and really enjoyed the demonic enjoyment of the devils in the Adam and Eve play. They were a lot of fun.
Do you find that the demons are winning in terms of audience response?
They're definitely winning hearts and minds. They're definitely great, but I think that everyone enjoyed the expulsion from the garden as well. The angel was clearly not angry, just disappointed.
Yes.
So,
they were very sad angels.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Honestly, I'm genuinely very impressed by this, and it's a lot of fun.
I mean, they may start any second now, but what's your name?
Zoe.
And
Tom.
Tom, so you've seen the first two so far. What are your thoughts?
I think it's absolutely brilliantly put together. The costuming, the direction, it's been really creative.
I love the elements of comedy that they've woven into it all. It's been really fun to watch.
And have you found the language barrier a problem, or have you found that you've been carried by what's going on?
I think we've just been carried. Like, the acting's been so wonderful that you just get really absorbed in the story, and the language doesn't really matter that much.
What language do we have to talk to you in?
You can
Latin
talk in
or
whichever
Middle
one
English
you
or-
prefer. So what's your name?
Duncan.
And
Kim.
Hello. How did you hear about the show?
We come every year.
You come every year, so you can compare and contrast with the ones you've seen before. What differences have you noticed over the years?
They're getting busier and more people in the cast, for sure.
Yeah.
And better costumes and funnier.
Yeah.
It's just an upward curve, really. Yeah.
They have been pretty funny and slapstick though before. I mean, we're looking forward to the harrowing of hell.
Yes.
I mean, that's going to be a big highlight, I reckon.
Yep.
I mean, the Last Judgment, that should be good for a laugh too.
Yes, always good.
I think may come back for that.
Quality of devils has got better over the year. Definitely.
Yeah, the snake. Yeah,
They look
it's
genuinely
good.
scary.
It's
Some of them there.
really good fun.
Yes.
Really good fun. And I quite like getting here early because then you get the atmosphere of them still learning their still writing. Actually, still writing some of the lines.
Yeah.
So that's always, yes, good.
But how are you finding the different languages that are being presented? Because as you were saying, it's not all in English, and even when it's in English, it's an older form of English. How are you finding that language barrier?
Well, I think the acting carries it through, doesn't it? And we all know the story anyway.
Yeah.
Which, if you didn't know the story, I think it would be.
I mean, you
really
find
baffling.
because of the acting, you find yourself laughing at something in Middle English, even though you can't speak it.
Yeah.
So I think the actors.
They do a very
Excellent,
good job at
excellent.
hamming it up, which
good fun.
which is great. It's that mixture of something really serious in a language you understand, but something very funny at the same time.
And it's
I think that's a winner.
fantastic that it's been going on. That the tradition we're still part of the tradition of the mystery plays. It's a great feeling, isn't it?
It's nice to see how much language has evolved since, 500, 600, 700 years ago with the first play, and then the German in the second. It was very interesting, and then the last two we were able to understand, of course, because it was modern English, but it was definitely a different aspect that I wasn't expecting when coming, and it's added another dimension to the place today, which I think has been quite interesting. This is the first time I've been here today, and it's been very Oxford to say.
So what's been your highlight?
My highlight has to be the Adam and Eve play for sure. It was really interesting. I think that the speakers were very good, the actors, the actresses, they were brilliant, and I think the clearest play for me so far. I think hearing the German as well was I think it's a good language for that story, actually. I think that definitely made it very interesting. And seeing the different characters with the funny costumes and I think the one that had the bondage mask?
Yeah, there was one of the demons definitely had a look.
Yeah, I think that's a good way. Yeah, very Pulp Fiction, but it was great.
Yes, so I'm one of the English tutors at Lincoln College, and my first and second year English students will be doing the crucifixion. Well, 4 of them will be doing the crucifixion, 1 of them will be crucified. As it
Good clarification.
For the record, I've done kind of scarecrows around crucifixion.
Oh, fabulous. And you're here because your friends are performing.
Yes. I'm a DPhil student down at CATS, and I'm here because my friends are performing and because, of course, I'm a very, very avid lover of theatre. I've never been to this sort of thing. I thought this was awesome. It's a great way to describe it. But I thought the quad and this sort of very old medievally locale really adds to that to the atmosphere and the elements. So when I walked in, I'm like, wow, this is something else. This is actually very old-esque. I'm not a historian, so I don't get that, but that was quite something. It also didn't have the feel of like street plays or performances. It had a somehow more a flow and a better what's the word for it? Like it had a rhythm to it almost. I'm not sure if that also sort of comes from the locale.
Yeah, I think something that's really important about the mystery plays is the space. So you can imagine what it would have been like in the 15th century, going from wagon to wagon in York and Coventry and all the places they did it. And Teddy Hall works really well for it because it has the gorgeous front quad and then moving through to the slightly moodier cemetery and then around the back. So it's worked really well, especially because God sometimes speaks from the upper library. So he's kind of booming down at us.
I was and you were playing. You were a seraphim
in the Fall of the Angels.
And how did it go for you? Were you enjoying it?
It was a fun time. It was really good. I got to speak some Middle English, which is always fun. I enjoyed that, and didn't quite manage to learn my lines in time, but I had a clipboard because we were in an office setting, so that was good.
And how were you finding the audience response? Were they with you?
Yeah, I think so. I think they laughed at we'd set up some jokes and things and the way we'd stage it, and we got some laughs, which was really nice. And it was good to do. We tried to do it so it was modern English after the fall, and I think that was good because it's a lot of speaking after the fall, so it kind of kept it a little bit more.
How many of the shows have you caught today?
Arrived at the beginning.
You arrived at the beginning?
I'll stay to the end. It's earthy, and even if you don't know any medieval German, you can pick up the odd word, and we all know the stories so well, but you can follow what's going on, even if you don't get every single thread. It's I think they're fantastic. But it's earthy. It's not pious in the prissy sense. Which is as it should be, I think.
You survived,
yes!
Which is always good.
I lived. It was very exciting. We were worried for a moment there. But
and the sheep went down very well.
I was so, hearing because we've just been doing that in rehearsals. It's always better with an audience to just hear everyone break. Yeah, it makes our delirium a little more vibrant. But.
Yeah. My name's Sean, and I'm the English teacher at St Anne's College.
And you were brought in to do a flood.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm doing the flood. So with my English students and with the choristers of St Giles, which is the church just down the road from St Anne's.
Lovely. And you were watching?
I was watching, yes.
You were watching. How did you hear about this?
I'm a student here, or I was a student here. I've just submitted my PhD. So I'm here to celebrate and to watch some of my friends do the old performance.
Lovely. And how were you finding the shows? Not to put you on the spot next to someone who produced one of them or anything.
Truly excellent. I was in one with Sean last year, so it was very much fun. So I think they did a very good job over the helicopter noise.
Yes. Yes, they didn't have that problem. 800 years ago. It's
different problems, though, I guess. It would have been someone drunk and shouting or something.
The fun of it is working round everyday life.
Yes. Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
You're in the middle of it rather than separated. We had a few months, so we had maybe 3 or 4 rehearsals, but we didn't have everyone together until this morning, so that was quite exciting.
Of course not. That's not how these things work, but you do have some fabulous T-shirts.
Yes, we do. Yes, well, we thought that would help everybody to work out who was who.
Yeah, absolutely.
It went very well. We had a last-minute change of plan because Noah's wife was ill and couldn't come. But unfortunately, we had someone who could stand in. Change the arc. And we moved the arc at the last minute forward because the audience was further away than we expected. It's lovely when the audience laughs and you know that they're listening.
Yes, I'm sure. I am a master's student in medieval studies, and I am making a cameo as Adam getting harrowed out of hell during the liturgical procession, and then I am also appearing as Annas in the subsequent resurrection play.
Yes. So how did you become involved?
Well, I was doing a module on medieval drama last term, and with the once the mystery cycles are a sort of event across anyone who's involved in any kind of medieval studies at Oxford, so it was in the water.
Unless you move through to the garden now,
We couldn't miss the Annunciation.
Could we? No, we couldn't do that.
After this announcement, we wandered to the churchyard for New Testament plays: the Annunciation, the Nativity, the Wedding at Cana, the Crucifixion, the Lamentation, and the Harrowing of Hell.
Officially.
Officially.
I'm not officially asking.
I'm now in official mode.
Okay,
yes. You brought one of the plays here. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
So the play we brought was Marguerite Navarre's Nativity play. We cut about half of it because we had to get it down to 20 minutes, but we kept the whole shape of it. It's the second Marguerite play that we did. So last time we were here, we did the Comédie des Innocents. So we're working our way through Marguerite's plays. She was a very interesting woman, a very important, she was the sister of the French king, and she was a great patron of the arts and of intellectuals and philosophy and so on. And though she was herself a Catholic, she protected sort of Protestants and so on, and Protestants at the time of the Reformation, so a very important woman. And she's most famous for other works, but in addition to the Heptameron, which is her most famous work, she wrote a series of short scriptural plays, and so we're slowly working our way through them. And they always, she's very interested in female roles, so there's always extra women. So in this play there are shepherdesses as well as shepherds, and there's a lot of emphasis on the Virgin Mary and her wisdom, and so that's one of the reasons that we do it with an all-female troupe. It started out as an experiment, but I've really started to enjoy working with the all-female troupe, Les Perles Innocentes. It also has a lot of music, so we had to find people who could not only perform in French but also sing beautifully. And
I noticed demons in a nativity.
Yes,
not a usual.
Not your usual thing. No. Marguerite's very interested in the idea of tyranny, which was obviously politically important at her time. And she, in the Comédie des Innocents, she has a big contrast between Herod and God as two different forms of ideal power, or ideal and non-ideal power. And in this play, she presents Satan at the end of the play, sort of opposed to God and realizing that he has lost his power on earth. And then in God's final speech, he again talks about tyranny and how tyranny is defeated. So it seems to be a little bit of an obsession with Marguerite to get in a bit of a sort of political message about tyranny, and here she does it through Satan. And what's lovely is that Satan meets the shepherds, and it's the shepherds who repudiate Satan and reveal the theological truths about God's humility, being born in a stable and so on, and reject his power.
Lovely. And officially, who are you?
Officially, I'm Elizabeth Dutton. I'm the Professor of Medieval English at the University of Fribourg, and these are Les Perles Innocentes.
I'm Aurélie Blanc, and I played God and Mary in the Nativity play.
Yes. So how are you finding doing this particular show here in this environment during this, with all these other eclectic different texts?
It's really interesting, and it's really nice, I think, because we've been rehearsing here in the space since yesterday, so we're getting used to it, but we've always rehearsed on our own and with nobody there. And so first of all, it was really nice to see the other plays and to feel like we were spectators, and to kind of discover all of their, all the things they did, how, the costumes and the props and the sets and the clever things that they did. And then it was very interesting to perform here with an audience, because we were lucky that there was quite a lot of people this year. And so I think for some of the actors, they had to maneuver around the audience, but it was, just so nice to be in this atmosphere. I think it's a really, positive atmosphere. People seem happy to be there.
Yes.
So.
I'm Ines Trouplin, and I played a shepherdess. It was indeed quite difficult to maneuver in between all the people. We were not, or at least I was not, thinking there would be so much of an audience, but it was fantastic, really, because especially since this is a medieval play, contrary to modern plays where there is the concept of a fourth wall, here there isn't. You play with the public. That was great fun to see them so closely, see their expressions, how they reacted to everything we did, how we moved around them, and so on. That was great fun, really.
My name is Antigone Tazio, and I was an angel in the play. As Aurélie said, it was very different coming all the way from Fribourg here and performing in this open space. But very, very interesting and very nice to see all the other performances and the languages that they performed in. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've been here since 1:30, so I think is that 4? The New Testament.
You caught the New Testament, you caught Christ, he's been born.
Yes. Oh, they've been terrific, I think. I think the different languages are really interesting, because I only speak English but could follow along with the plays themselves. And I've noticed that the different language ones meant that the performances were much more exaggerated, and like they were really, really going for it, and I think that really added to it. It was properly cool.
Yeah, even though I couldn't understand half the languages, they were really entertaining. Yeah,
I could follow the French as well as the English, but I really did enjoy getting to experience something in a different medieval language that I kind of sort of understood, because it was, like Molly said, the performances really added to it, I think. And it's a bit of fun getting to test my language skills.
Yeah.
I think we all like the wedding one.
It's very entertaining.
Yeah.
Did you figure out which line?
I stopped paying attention halfway through to the specific lines. No, it was. I did think the archaisms were quite well integrated on the whole. It was probably obvious if you were listening out for it, but I got so immersed in the play that I stopped listening out for it.
I did enjoy the crucifixion one much more than I expected, because I've read the York text, but I've never seen it performed, so that was really interesting, and it was much funnier than I imagined it when I was reading it. So that was a really cool experience.
I was in the crucifixion.
The crucifixion?
Yes.
Yes. Tell me about that.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, from sort of, I'm an English student as well, from the perspective of being able to understand and sort of really embody how they would have put on the plays themselves, and we would figure out our own logistics of how do we safely crucify our classmate without killing him. Very, very interesting to learn about that. It was just a blast, honestly. Everyone was brilliant. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So the crucifixion as a comedy.
Yeah.
I would never have thought of that. Would you? I mean.
No, but what the presenter was saying beforehand, the whole thing that we laugh at Jesus on the cross and the comedy there, just like they would have done the actual time, is a really interesting bit of kind of meta kind of appreciation of it, which I think is pretty nicely done.
Absolutely. It sort of makes us complicit, I guess.
Absolutely.
You arrived for the French piece, and then
which was excellent, and then the wedding of Anna Backcanna, which was great.
Yeah, amazing that they just reconstructed that from 1.5 lines of dialogue.
Yeah, really I didn't realise that it was lost, so very interesting.
Yes, how long did you have to rehearse in this space?
In like this actual space that we had, including today, 3 rehearsal sessions total. That was 3 like run-throughs of the play itself. So we did 2 today, and I think we did 1 last week, and that was it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I am the Holy Spirit in The Fall of the Angels, but I'm Helen Dallas in real life.
I'm Antonia Anstead, and I was Lucifer in The Fall of the Angels this morning.
So, from different teams, as it were, from different...
Yes.
Yeah.
We start off on the same team.
Yes.
Someone gets a bit full of herself.
Management meeting went on there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how did the concept come about for doing it in this sort of office setting?
Well, it was our director, Karis Howell, who we were thinking about how to do it, because obviously medieval costumes and everything is difficult, and then they just said they were seeing it as an office meeting, and then we were all like, yes, that makes complete sense, and then we decided to just kind of take on that idea.
And I think because we were keen to do it in Middle English, we wanted something that, like, okay, if no one understands the words that are being said, what do they have to grip onto? And we like Lucifer gets an Employee of the Month sign that then makes Lucifer a bit big-headed.
All of the fall is them being fired, like falling from the grace of the CEO, I guess. It translates surprisingly well into an office setting, I think.
Yeah, and it was something familiar for an audience to go, oh, right, I know what the references are. But was also funny because they weren't expecting to see that.
Even at the end, when God, at the end, so after the end of the fall and everything, God finishes the creation, splits night from day, and then literally has a block of speech, which is something like, this day's work is done and it has been well. And we said, oh, this is like exactly what someone would say like after like a long board meeting at the end of a day, which it just really, I feel it worked quite well overall.
Yeah, I was really happy with that. I think that was a great decision to bring it together a bit. Keep it medieval and make it modern at the same time.
And fun for costumes as well.
Yeah.
And it's that question, what does Lucifer take out of hell in their little cardboard box at the end of the day? I mean, what do you take from the office from heaven?
Well, I think it was just kind of what was thrown after me. So my apple wasn't there. We had that as a little joke that Lucifer tries to offer one of the CEOs an apple, and
it was so much fun. I'm so glad that the audience really found it funny, really connected with it. I think that's I've never done theatre not in modern English. By modern English, I include 16th century English, but I've not done Middle English. No. So I was a bit worried that they were going to sort of go, right, okay, this is very serious because it's medieval, and actually no, they got that there were characters, they got the arc of what was happening, they really enjoyed it, and that felt really rewarding. That was really, really nice.
Well, I'm at Lincoln College, and our chaplain made the cross for the crucifixion, and some of the undergraduates were involved in the crucifixion play, so we came to see all of their hard work come to fruition. Yeah, the wedding at Cana, we got the very end of it, the crucifixion and the hell as well. It was really good. I also love the intermix between the medieval German and the Latin as well, and doing it in song was such a good way to do it. And I love how the plays sort of flow one right into the other, and how it actually recreates how the plays were done in medieval times a little bit more. So it's so nice that we can actually have the chance to recreate that, and also what is a very medieval setting at Teddy.
As it were. So I was quite surprised to see
the Devil at the Nativity.
See the Devil at the Nativity in French, trying to make an appearance and then being warded off by the shepherds, almost like this character's too good, so we've got to bring them back for a sequel. And also that in the Garden of Eden, there's a kind of conspiracy that it's not just Satan, but there's a whole bunch of fallen angels who are doing this as a kind of joint act, rather than it just being Milton's Satan coming in there and doing it all on his own.
I'm enjoying hearing all of the languages spoken. I find it's much easier to understand them when you have them said out loud. Reading them all the time means you sometimes just get a bit lost. But we're being summoned.
Hey, that's like that's like when you get the 5-minute bell, isn't it, Matt?
And finally, we were drawn round to the back of the church for the closing plays of the Resurrection, Martyrdom of the Three Holy Virgins, not a mystery play, and not normally found in a cycle, and then the Last Judgment.
I'm Andrew Dunning. I'm a curator of medieval manuscripts at the Bodleian Library and a fellow at Jesus College. I ended up singing in one of the plays, a piece of it's a play out of not one of our manuscripts, but out of a medieval manuscripts. One of the students turned it into something that we could actually sing and make sense of for a modern audience, and it's a really great opportunity to get together with students, with faculty, and just get together and really live these stories. It's a wonderful way, I think, of seeing that these aren't just these things that we study aren't just texts. They're actual living things that were not. This play only survives in one manuscript, I think. But it's. And so it'd be really tempting, I think, to say, well, here's this text that's in one manuscript. How is this relevant? How this must have been just this obscure thing, and yet what we can see today is that it's this living thing that actually would have been, that potentially, even if it only survives in one copy, it could have been heard by hundreds, thousands of people. Yes. I absolutely love hearing different languages in Oxford. I'm from Canada, so I grew up hearing French as well as English, and so it's really. I can't understand everything. I've studied Latin. I've studied medieval vernaculars. I can make out a lot of it. Since everybody sort of knows the stories, you can get the gist from. There's been some great acting today of people making really exaggerated gestures, and so even if you can't quite follow the text, it's fine. Yeah. But what I feel that what you really get the sense of is that, just how wide an audience these plays are really for. Because they weren't, these plays weren't designed to be put on by professionals. They were designed to be memorized by, traditionally there's the we saw that Crucifixion, for example, and that was traditionally put together by people who blacksmiths who made nails. And this is really, this is a community. The idea of these plays was to be a community production, or just come together and really live these stories. And I think the one that I found most touching was a story of Abraham and Isaac, and because that's a story that I think a lot of people find very difficult.
It's a hard one.
Yes,
it is a hard one.
And I thought, of course, it's such a short story in the original biblical telling of it, but I think that was about 20 minutes long, and I think they really, that play, I think that's a great example of people also, again, you can actually see behind that, obviously people, 600 years ago when that was written, were also struggling with that story. Yes. And you can see them trying to make sense of with all the dialogue that they added. You can see them trying to figure out, okay, how can we add some symbolism to this to actually make sense of, linking this to the story of, there's that wonderful, the angel, I think it was, who brought this lamb onto the scene.
Yes. Yes, trying to connect the Old Testament with the New Testament.
Exactly,
and
right.
Using the imagery associated with Christ,
right.
and doing all of those things. Yes, you do get the impression they're really struggling to connect the Old Testament with the New Testament, and really making interesting choices to make that work.
So that was very touching, I thought.
Well, we're a group from St Stephen's House, the theological college here in Oxford, and we've, I suppose, just decided to come together to put on this play about the resurrection. So we've been rehearsing it for a few weeks. We had a bit of a mishap with one of our members being taken ill, but fortunately someone took his place, and so yes, it went fine. Yeah, I think they all fit together very well. It was good to see some of the others and see how we fitted into the story amongst the other parts of the story of Christ's passion and some New Testament and Old Testament narratives.
I enjoyed the Pusey House wedding at Cana. I think that was the best.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. And the
Adam
the
and
flood.
Eve.
Yeah,
Oh, the flood.
The flood, that was good.
Yeah, the rainbow part from God. That was marvelous.
Down from the window,
yes.
a little cloud.
And then he pulled it up really slowly at the end after the beat ended. So it was really nice.
Yeah.
In the crucifixion part, when the
girls
girls tried to lift him, to lift Jesus in the air, it was pretty good.
I'm surprised they left him. To be fair.
Yeah.
Dead weight's pretty heavy.
with all the wood too.
Yeah, literally.
I am Silly, and my role was Dulcitius,
and I think he is in charge of the officers. I don't know what his role is. What is his role? He's in charge of the prison. He's in charge of the prison, and I, because of my reactions to the martyrs, I am turned into Satan. And this is one of my lackeys.
I was one of the soldiers. Stilly was my boss. We were just enforcing the rules.
Yes, that's what they always say.
So true, so true.
Yeah, following orders, just following orders.
Yeah. And yours was a very different play in the sense that you were doing a martyrs play rather than a more conventional mystery play.
So it wasn't part of the Testaments,
No.
but it was, I suppose, in honour of them. This is the man who
we
did it all.
have the director here.
So you directed it?
I did.
Yes. Tell us about how you approached this text. Obviously, mix of Latin and interpolated English, I assume.
Well, Stilly wasn't very keen on speaking Latin.
I'm the only one who can't do Latin.
I rather like mixed languages, and I think it suited the diabolic to go to the fallen language of English and having the sacred bit and the sacred language of Latin.
Yep.
I did have to translate it myself because the existing translations are all a bit wordy, and I wanted to catch the rhythm of the rhythm of the Latin and the English.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting exercise in itself.
Yeah. And how did you feel the audience took it?
Well, I hope, of course, none of them will want to get married, and they will all devote their lives to Christ.
Of course.
I was going to say that, despite a lot of it being in Latin, I think the audience grasped it really
Yeah,
well.
they did.
Absolutely. So it's really nice to be able to do it in the Latin.
Yeah. I mean, one of the interesting things was putting in a saints play in a mystery cycle.
Yeah.
So I think something that interested Henrika and myself was the idea of the feminist crucifixion at the end and how that meshed into the wider story.
Yes.
I hadn't thought so much about the echo of the fire and hellfire that we got in the last one, so that was another nice link to justify its place in the cycle.
Well, yes, I mean, this is the thing. All of these plays are sort of talking to each other, sometimes deliberately and sometimes accidentally. We were talking earlier with some of the contributors about how making that leap from the Old Testament to the New Testament and making those connections, but also making connections between a slightly different story and a slightly different narrative, and making it sort of connect.
Yeah. And I just love the mix of different groups that somehow feel so medieval, that each group comes from a different place, a different group. We're a slightly unusual group in being a sort of mix of students and whatever you call
Ifley residents.
Senior Ifley residents.
That's what makes it
right.
special, though.
I love that that mix.
I've actually been through the whole thing. I've never been to anything like this before, and I was just really enjoying it. So I'm probably going to leave in a second because I'm desperately hungry. But I have been here since it opened this morning, since noon, I suppose. I really did like the last play and just how camp it was. I think that's the word I would use for it, is camp. Yeah. I really liked that one. I really liked how many times I had absolutely no idea what any of the words were being said. And yet I knew exactly what was happening, And then the story of the three martyrs, the second to last play, that was the only story I'd never heard before, because it's not like in scripture or anything like that. So, those were some of the things that I quite liked. I really liked the diversity of costumes that I saw today as well. It was really good. It was really, really good, yeah.
Yeah, everyone kind of got their ingenuity out.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved seeing how many different approaches there were to something like this, yeah.
We were the resurrection. We didn't have Jesus in it. It was sort of the responses to the discovery of the empty tombs. Quite lots of irony built into that. Before the resurrection, of course, they had the crucifixion, which I did watch, which was a comedic crucifixion. So nice to see how the medievals like to play with important religious themes as well as believing them, but they could enjoy them as well.
I directed The Last Judgment, and I did it. I'm part of the MST cohort, the English Literature 650 to 1550. So we're a bunch of nerdy medievalists who wanted to put on a play, and we did it in 2 days in my back garden, or in our back garden. These are my housemates.
We are the housemates.
I loved it. I think that they're fantastic for the amount of time that we had. We just had, I think the reason why we wanted to get involved in this event is we spent so much time looking at it on a page or in a manuscript, and actually bringing these things to life is kind of what they were used for to begin with. And so having a space to be able to put on medieval drama in about 5 different languages and have so many people show up is kind of miraculous. So I think as an event, it's fantastic and so joyful. So
I liked it as a whole event because seeing the huge variation in how people approached it, what they wanted to stage, what language they chose to stage it in, when they were setting it. That was just so fun, the kind of sequence across the whole thing, moving around the college. It as a whole arc from morning to evening was really wonderful.
I think one of my favourites was probably during the resurrection, when there was the angel going, like singing Alleluia and then kind of like going down behind the tomb. It was just such a moment of absolute genuine. It was like the whole resurrection was incredibly funny, and I didn't expect it to be that funny. So that was a really great surprise, I think.
So you were involved in the end of the world. Do you feel any guilt or?
I feel suitably chastened, I think, but also as Archangel Michael, I spent most of the time wielding a sword and a large pan. So the power was nice for me too.
Yeah, life goals. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But how did you find actually doing the? I know you didn't have a lot of rehearsals, but how did you find actually
come
doing?
Across?
And do and also you're only doing it once, and that sense of how was that?
Well, I think it was nice doubly because we knew we wanted to be working. Ours was in modern English because we thought back in the day, their vernacular, our vernacular, we wanted to get that sort of sense of immediacy for people to be, at the end of the day, because our play was at the end of the day, kind of following along with us and laughing along with us. And also the space that we're in, I think was really wonderful. We're at St Edmund Hall, and we had souls emerging from the ground that are sort of coming from pits around the church, which was quite fabulous. So yeah, it was really nice to use the space and to sort of bring the medieval alive for people that might not necessarily have the linguistic capabilities and stuff. Yeah.
Come on, Satan. We've heard from the good.
It was very good. I think with characters like Lucifer and the demons, I think it's like a great way to bring a sort of the queerness back into the medieval, which maybe isn't perhaps in the original, but when I'm reading these characters, I think they read to me as incredibly campy and over the top and dramatic. So that was something that was fun to explore and to ham up a bit too. And also, I guess we were always discussing that it feels kind of sacrilegious bringing these characters to life in non-traditional ways. But even watching the traditional ones, the ones that were done in Middle English, they felt equally sacrilegious, and I felt really taken aback by how these medieval writers were making these godlike characters so human and soft and fleshy. So that was fun to explore.
My name's Alice. I'm a master's student here at Oxford, and I was kind of in charge of producing the Last Judgment pageant for the Mystery Cycle. So I was involved in kind of just the general organisation and some of the creative stuff as well. Me and Ruby Whitehouse adapted the script into kind of modern English based on the Chester, N-Town and Townley cycles. We did a bit of a kind of collage of those 3 plays. I think it went really, really well. I think it's, we were the last one of the day, so we had to try and keep energy up. But I think it was very good. I think it's such a heavy topic that it was just automatically kind of absurd, the idea of presenting end of days apocalypse. So I think we just decided to make it quite camp and fun, and I think people responded really well to that.
And that was it for the Oxford Mystery Plays 2025. They will return. Watch the skies. Many thanks to the whole team who created this wonderful event, and Henrika for inviting us along to record this episode. And thanks to all of the people who spoke to Liza and myself and agreed to be recorded for the podcast. A lot of names and details got lost in the edit, but I hope no one objects to the flow. All of the responses were recorded and have been archived to help the team in Oxford with planning the future of these mystery plays, and we thank you for your time. Finally, do go to their website, links in the show description, where videos for this and previous cycles are available now. Till next time, from me and my co-interviewer, Liza Graham. Goodbye.
It already signed me.
You're just too cool.
I'd signed in. Can I have my pen back, please?
That was your pen.
That's my pen. It's literally my pen. There was no pen provided. That is my pen.